It's the Lockdown Flyers podcast for Wednesday, November 6th, your daily dose of Flyers news, analysis, and high quality content. Is just devastated about how the last minute of that game went versus Carolina.
Yeah, that that one's gonna sting.
You're Locked On Flyers, your daily podcast on the Philadelphia Flyers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, and thanks for making Locked On Flyers your first listen every day. I am Rachel Donner. I've been podcasting about the Flyers, the NHL, and hockey for a decade. I'm here, as always, with prospect expert and Flyers credentialed reporter for 19 plus years, Russ Cohen. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. To keep up with us and the Flyers news, you can find us at Locked On Flyers on all your favorite socials and here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We will get caught up on the trade of Ronnie Attard to the Edmonton Oilers that happened later in the evening last night, but we have to dig straight into the game against Carolina because, like, despite everything, Russ, they were in this game until the bitter end, right?
Yeah, there's no doubt. They definitely were in the game. It was one of those that neither coach was going to like. I mean, Rod Brind'Amour was chewing his gum really hard. I could tell he was mad. He was holding it in. I mean, yeah, they both were angry at times. I mean, it's not how coaches draw it up. It just sort of became this offensive game because they both were playing at a really high level pace, not high level of skill. That's a different situation, but a high level pace. And that did cause some errors. And, we didn't see sharp goaltending on either end.
We didn't. Interesting lineup for the Flyers, partially circumstantial and partially deliberate, but Zamula checked back in for Johnson, which was a good thing. It needed to happen. Zamula had been out too long, and Johnson had been a little bit of a liability. But the Nick Delorier checking into this game in lieu of Ryan Poehling, who was dealing with a family situation and didn't even make the trip. So the Flyers didn't really have a choice there.
No, it happens.
Yeah. So I'm not mad about it because I certainly hope everything is okay.
Yeah.
But it's certainly a skill differential there.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
There's a drop in skill and speed and everything else. Although I'll say there was one or two shifts where the Delorier line actually did do some cycling, some old-fashioned cycling, and held on to the puck a little bit.
Well, that is a very interesting point you make there, Russ, because if you look at the stats for this game, which, again, when we talked pre-game on yesterday's show about this, we said the Flyers had to create rebounds and get second chances. They had to prevent the Canes from doing that. And they had to take some chances, right? With the
no question
defensemen and forwards too, but take some chances and press, right? And because of the way Carolina is and what we talked about with them, they're a team that has a lot of shot attempts. Their accuracy isn't that good, but they do it enough that enough of them go in and they get some
volume.
pucks.
It's a volume of shots.
Just volume, right? So how many rebound shots did the Philadelphia Flyers create in this game? We said they had to get a bunch of them. They got one. Who did it? Nick Delorier.
Yeah, crazy, right? I mean,
yeah,
it doesn't make good sense, but good for him.
Yeah, so the Carolina Hurricanes, however, had 11. And if you create 11 rebound shots, some of those are going to go in eventually because
no
your
doubt.
Goalie's going to be out of position or whatnot.
Just human error, those kinds of things. You have to create that. The fact that they didn't, is a failure for sure.
Yeah. So the Flyers did have some puck luck with, weird goals, but off of
Yep.
strong plays, right? They had a
Yep.
really strong forecheck that led to the Konecny goal in the third,
Mhm.
right? Creating a turnover. The Frost goal was a really great play by
Yeah.
Sanheim, I believe it was.
Yeah, it was no,
Um,
Couturier. I thought it was Couturier with that back pass. I forget who. Maybe you're
it
right.
was
Maybe.
Couture with the back pass to Konecny,
Oh yeah, that's right. You're right.
but I think it was Sanheim for that Frost goal that wasn't really a goal, but it was a goal. So we'll let him have it. But so I think there was a little bit of an illusion there with the Flyers scoring, but that's also puck luck, and you have to take advantage of those situations, and the Flyers did. So, a goal's a goal, right?
Yeah, a lot of puck luck is because of hard play and being
Mhm.
in the right place, right time, and yeah. So yeah, that part they had going for them. You could say there were other nights that it didn't go for them. So that makes it a little harder when it's going for you and you still don't win.
Right. So you look at defensively then, because you knew this was a team that was going to take a lot of shots and you had to be prepared for that. The biggest issues were directly related to what the Canes are good at. So the Flyers had a lot of trouble clearing the zone. It was especially evident in that last minute of play,
Oh
right?
yeah, they just play keep away.
Right, right. They're giving up rebounds, the aforementioned 11 stat that I just mentioned, and they weren't freezing the puck. And I think, you
That's a
know,
big thing. They were not freezing the puck. And a young goalie, like that's something that's not in his repertoire that has to get in his repertoire because that is a difference between like the KHL and the NHL. The KHL, they kind of keep the play moving, and you see he's always kind of putting the puck in play, but sometimes that can come back and bite you.
right. And I think there's a couple of things going on with the puck freezing. There's that he's not used to doing it as much, and that's a skill he needs to build. But I do also think there's a little bit of miscommunication with the skaters on when they should try and get it to him versus when he's reaching out his glove. And they just haven't figured out that rhythm yet, which is understandable to a degree. But the Flyers veteran defenseman should know better, honestly,
They
a
have to
little
know.
bit.
They have to know
Yeah.
that. Like, that's something you have to work on in practice or even in a morning skate. Like, hey, let's figure this one out. They got to figure it out on this trip because this is an important trip to playing tough teams. And if they're not, they got to get some points. Like, you can't continue to sink. Now, again, yeah, they're a rebuilding team. That's fine. But you still don't want to get in bad habits.
Right. And so you look at the stats for Kolosov here. Obviously, he had those 11 rebound shot against. The Canes had 66 unblocked shot attempts in this game.
It's
66.
insane. I mean, I don't, again, I don't even know what to say about that other than pucks to the net. They just think,
Right.
that's the old cliche.
Right. But I think, tying back to Kolosov, he is a learning goaltender
He
here.
is.
And at a certain point, like, it's just going to be too much for him.
Right. I
And
mean, I know that Torts is on the outs with Fedotov, but knowing that the Canes put a great volume of shots, which we talked about, like this isn't a surprise. I'm not sure he was the right goalie to play in this game because of that.
yes, and specific to that, Canes were shooting high all
Oh yeah.
game long because no, I mean, obviously Kolosov is smaller than Fedotov because not many
Correct.
people are Fedotov
I mean,
size
who
or
is
bigger,
bigger?
right?
Like nobody in the
Right.
NHL
There's like
as a
one guy,
goalie.
I think
Yeah.
he's bigger than him.
Right.
But like a as far as the strategy the Canes had, they took those 66 shot attempts and a lot of them were very high, and that's
Yeah.
because Kolosov goes down, flails, and doesn't get back up quickly. So
Right.
that's when you can have successful rebound attempt
Yeah.
shots. He just hasn't figured out how to move and get up at the same time quickly,
Right. I think there's
right?
something to that. And it's hard. I mean, again, he's young. He's a prospect goalie.
Mhm.
It's hard to learn this at the NHL level.
Yeah.
And, you know, I get it. They have limited options, but you still paid Fedotov money for a reason. You still have to really exhaust the fact that you don't like him or he can't do it. It's a little early to just say, well, we're going with Kolosov because he battles. Okay. I mean, but it's not a great spot for him. We've been
Right. And
saying that all along.
when you have 6 defensive zone giveaways in a game, like that doesn't help your goaltender either.
No.
So,
But that's the other thing. It's like they are going out of their way to try and help him. And, at times that was succeeding. But I think late
right.
in the game, the fatigue factor came in and definitely was there. Like the biggest thing I could say is, and players will never admit to this, but I think they thought that game was going to possibly go into overtime. But the Canes were just like, no, we're pushing this to the very last second. We want to win this in regulation. And I'm not telling you the Flyers didn't try hard or anything, but I'm just telling you mentally, they probably felt like, okay, we're pretty close to getting a point here. And they couldn't get the puck back.
Right. And, all this to say that Kolosov did not have a great game, but I don't really blame him for it because
no, he's not the responsible. It's not his responsibility for the loss. He could have played better. There's no question, but there were so many other things that went wrong.
Yeah, there were. We're going to get into some more of that and talk about some other players because there were some other players.
Yeah, other players played
that did some stuff, and we are going to do that coming up next. PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action. Join over 10 million users and sign up today. PrizePicks is the best way to win real money this football season. Which players are going off, which ones aren't? Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on PrizePicks. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. PrizePicks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. And PrizePicks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get money in as little as 15 minutes. Download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNHL on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. PrizePicks, run your game. All right, on the Thursday show, we are going to talk Tampa Bay Lightning, the Flyers' next opponent. Plus, we'll do a prospect check-in. So, a lot of good stuff on the Thursday show. Getting back to the game against Carolina and some of the important aspects of that game. Igor Zamula checks back into the lineup. How do you think he did?
I don't think he was bad. I noticed him in pretty decent ways. I think he was okay. I mean, as okay as anybody could be in that game defensively. I mean, let's be fair. I mean, he was a -2, but like a lot of Bobby Brink was a -3. But I don't think he was bad. He only played 10 minutes. That's probably all Torts trusts him for at this point. But no, I don't think he was bad.
Well, and when he was with Emil Andre, they struggled together. I think it was a weird combination.
Yeah, that was, you shouldn't do that. Like that. Yeah, that wasn't going to work.
But Zamula did break up a rush with Roslovic and Aho at one point. Like really, he just read the play really well.
Yeah, he did. I remember that.
Yeah, so that was good. Owen Tippett breaks through again. What a great shot. I got
that was a great shot. Just some other plays though. He's got to do better with his second effort. Like he gets that first shot and he lets guys box him out.
And we've talked about that in the past with him, and he had sort of fixed that last season.
He did, but there's no snarl to him. Yeah, there's no snarl to him to or hunger to get that puck back to get another shot on net. Like there were times last year where he would take 2 or 3. And he's a big guy. You would think he'd be able to do that. If he can't do it physically, then do it with the stick, but he's got to be able to do it.
Yeah, there were also 2 times at least that I saw where there's a circumstance where Tippett would normally take the shot and he went for the pass instead, which is like,
Yeah.
I think at this point, you just got to take the shot, Tippett. Like,
Yeah, I mean, this was a game they finally did score a lot of goals, but they're not scoring enough goals, and he should know that.
I just, you have to know who you're skating down there with
Yeah.
and ultimately make the right choice there. And I think there was at least twice where I don't think he made the right choice in this game and maybe could have had a quality shot on goal there. Of course, Morgan Frost gets his first goal in that weird way, but he had a mixed bag of a game, I thought.
He did. He was okay at the dot. He was 6 of 11. I think he was mostly noticeable in a good way, but yeah, I mean, look, if he doesn't score that goal, they wouldn't even have made it a close game. So that was an important goal. I forget what the score was at the time. Let's see. Yeah, they were down by 2, I think, at that point.
Yeah, I think so.
And so, yeah, it was important. It was weird. What a goal's a goal. Maybe that gets him going.
Michkov, I think, had some segments of really strong play and segments where he kind of disappeared. I don't think it was necessarily bad. I think he just wasn't as active. And I think that line had some issues overall during the game.
They did, and they switched it up a little, and Michkov lost playing time. He only played 13:57 and, almost 2 minutes of its power play time. So 5-on-5, he didn't play a lot, and he was frustrated. You could see he was frustrated. He got a point on the 5-on-3, right? But 5-on-5 was a struggle, and it's been a struggle for him. And he's going to have to, work that out. The team can only put him in so many good positions to kind of, help that along. And I think they are. But yeah, he's, it's going to be a battle for him right now.
Yeah. And, he had a couple of attempts in the high slot as per usual that didn't go. But at least he has that in his arsenal that he can go to if he wants to build some confidence there. He's got to kind of build from that out.
Yeah, he only had one registered shot on goal, though. So, the weird thing is, Tippett had 6, and then after that, your leaders are 2 shots, and Nick Delorier is one of them.
I know. Well, he created that rebound, Russ.
I know, and it still blows my mind. But Konecny had a good game. He did. Can't take that away from him. It's just, it was a shame. Mil Andre blows a tire that didn't help. There were, some bad clears. Do I think Kolosov should have gloved that last one? Yeah, if he did, it probably changes things. It's the way it goes.
Yeah, I felt bad for Noah Cates too because he just had nothing to work with.
No,
when he was out
playing
there,
good defensively. He was a 0 in the game, which in this game is a hard thing to do. But he didn't get enough ice time. 12:48.
No, he was with Farabee a little bit, and those were the brighter moments. But he was just like, what do I got to do here, guys? I'm doing the best I can.
But he did play more than Delorier and Hathaway. So there is that.
Yeah, well, Hathaway wasn't playing well in that game either.
No.
As far as the defensive,
and Brink had a very bad game. If he gets sat, we're not going to be surprised.
So were you surprised that they put Risto with Sealer as opposed to Sanheim, and how do you think that went?
Yeah, I think it was mid. I don't think it was great. I was a little surprised considering how successful I felt the other 2 were together. I think they should put it back. I don't know why they tinkered. Maybe there was something they saw and thought there was going to be a matchup that they could take advantage of. Whoever was covering Martin Netjes, that's a nightmare. So that, we talked about him. He's hard to handle.
Yeah, I think, Drysdale is getting sheltered a little bit, and that's probably why, they needed to put him with Sanheim.
Right.
But that Sanheim-Risto pairing was actually working. So it was a risk that they took. And I don't necessarily think that it panned out, but I don't dislike them for trying it.
No, I mean, Drysdale played a lot. He played 23 minutes. He was a 0, which is good in this game. So he mostly had a good game. It's just he didn't get any shots on goal in the power play.
Yeah.
That's tough.
He continues to kind of cycle around and dump it off to the next guy in the loop, and
Yeah.
that's about it.
Yeah.
So
That's
I
accurately
don't
put.
know. But yeah, a lot of takeaways from that. I think, again, very heartbreaking loss, but given what we knew about the Canes and how it played out, I feel like the Flyers learned a lot from this game. I feel like they got a lot of data on
We'll
what to do
see.
and
We'll
what
see
not
when they
to
play
do.
Tampa. Yeah, we'll see when they play Tampa if they did indeed get that, or was this just like
Well,
a
they got
slop?
a lot of data. Are they going to learn from it is the
Right.
question,
Right.
right?
Or was this just a slop fest of a game? Like, we're gonna find out.
In the meantime, gotta mention the small trade that the Flyers did last night or 2 nights ago, I guess, trading Ronnie Attard to Edmonton for defenseman Ben Gleason. And I think that this is definitely a change of scenery trade, likely for both of them. It is interesting that they picked up a left-handed defenseman, which I don't necessarily think the Flyers need in their depth chart right now.
I think they were
But
just looking to trade Attard, period.
yes,
They probably asked Torts, "Do you plan on using him again?" And they were like, "No." So they were like, "All right, let's get a body for him." Look, Gleason, he's a little bit better of a defender. Uh, Not much offense there, not much speed there. It's a shame. Like, Attard was a much higher prospect in the Flyers system than Gleason is for the Oilers, right?
yep.
So this is just like you said, change of scenery. If Attard does better, am I going to be shocked? No. Uh, it's the way it
I think
goes.
the
So
Phantoms will take advantage of him there because he's a pretty
yeah,
high level AHL defenseman. So
yes.
I think it'll be good for the
No, for
Phantoms.
Phantoms,
But
it's fine. We're not going to see him in the NHL. It's not that.
no,
Not going
I
to be the
don't
case.
think so. A girl can dream that they're gonna call up Grons or something, and so they needed an extra body if they were trading Attard away. They needed to get a defenseman in return.
Yeah, Grinds
But
only comes up if there's like 2
I
injuries,
know,
probably.
I know, I know. That's my I wish scenario there.
Yep.
All right. It is Wednesday, so that means we will be answering your mailbag questions, and we will get to those coming up next.
Get ready to tackle NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. I would take the Commanders over the Steelers this week. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
Diving right into our mailbag, our friend Andrew asked us, do you think it may be better for Torts to allow Michkov to play the way that he knows how this season and see where it goes, and then take another step next season to teach the defensive side of things, let him get on his feet and figure out what he can do at this level offensively first?
No. I mean, I just wish they'd have just taught him that way at the beginning of the year instead of kind of letting him get his offense going and then saying, okay, kid, now that you got your offense going, now you got to learn this, So I just wish they kind of did it differently, but he has to learn it.
Right, that they were just kinda letting him do his thing in the preseason, which
Yeah,
is when they could have taught him some things
correct.
or expected more from him defensively without any consequences to his offense, I
Right.
think. And then kind of let him, once the regular season started, balance it out a little bit more. But yeah, it's really tough for him now, but he'll get there. I really don't have any doubt that that will happen, and I think that my sneaking suspicion is that he'll end up back on a line with Konecny, seems to be the guy that
He's
can
the guy, yeah. Yeah.
spark his offense a little bit better. Michael Johnson had a very complimentary question, mostly for you, Russ. I'm going to take it a little bit for me
Okay.
too, just because I try. But he says, how do you do multiple shows a day, stay on top of all the NHL teams, and know so much about Cullen Porter? That was the prospect we profiled last
Oh,
week.
yeah, Colin
And all
Potter,
and
yeah.
all or Potter, and all the other prospects is hard for me to comprehend. We only get 24 hours in a day. Can you share the sources you use to stay on top of so much hockey data?
I mean, I have some people that will occasionally tell me something, but I have to see it for myself. I mean, the real key is there's no real secret. The real key is I get to see guys sometimes a year or two early. So it gets me a quick look at what they, were then as compared to now. And it really helps me. There's some players now that are really starting to blossom that didn't even get drafted that I was kind of on last year. And so that really does help. And then it is just a lot of video watching. I get kidded all the time at the Flyers game. There's a nice gentleman there who, greets you when you get up there in the press box, and then he'll come over to me. He goes, "How many videos do you have in your, DVR or whatever? Are you caught up with it?" And he laughs because I'm never caught up. I'm never caught up the whole year. Like once I fall behind, that's it. I fall behind. But that's because I am looking at all of it, or as much as I can.
Right. And, we pick prospects, like draft eligible prospects that we think are relevant to the Flyers and to
Right.
the greater conversation
Right.
about the draft as a whole. And so, it allows me, when Russ, you pick one, for instance, like it allows me to do that deep dive on a very specific person.
Yes.
And I don't have to spread the net quite as wide. But I do watch some of those games, and I watch all the junior prospect tournaments, and
Yep. And it helps.
I watch some OHL as
Yep.
well. So so I do my part as well.
You do. No question about it.
All right. On the goalie situation, the Jukebox Zero on Threads is saying it's okay. They're still rebuilding. I don't think anybody thinks they were playoff bound. The more time the newer attendees spend on the ice, the more they learn, the more experience they gain. Maybe they'll surprise us. I think that's the right attitude to have.
I mean, it's a good attitude to have. The only thing is, like I said, it's hard for Kolosov to learn at the NHL level. I'd rather him gain his confidence in the AHL first and then play in the NHL. If that doesn't happen, then what you say has to kind of go. But at some point, if they lose total faith in Fedotov, what does that mean for Kolosov? That it doesn't help if he starts 50 games this year. It's not really what you want to do. It's too much for this young guy to do at the NHL level. Even if he does better, it's just a lot to put on him. So that's the worry, the balance.
Yeah, I hear you. Chris on YouTube had a question about the Ronnie Attard trade. Was he given a fair chance, or what contributed to this move? He notes, I agree, if Torres keeps these guys in Lehigh Valley, that's not doing anyone any good. You can bring up the age factor, but that's kind of the situation with a lot of guys on the Phantom. So what was different about Attard?
I felt like last year he got a chance. Was it long enough? No, we felt like he should have gotten up earlier because he was having a better year.
And had more consistent playing time and string multiple games together, as opposed to play a game, sit 2 games, play,
Right.
That
and
was
did he get a little demotivated this year by not making the team? Probably a little, but then his play did slip. Like it's just, there's no question it slipped. The coaching staff definitely didn't have as much faith in him. You could see by the way they were using them in the lineup. So yeah, he's got to pull himself up from the bootstraps now, or, it's going to be a short career.
Do not like that Ronnie Attard's last play in the Flyers organization was a fight that got him a game misconduct.
Right. That's really not his game. So yeah.
Nope. Did not go out on a good note, which bums me out a little bit because I really liked him as a prospect. So I hope he has some success in the
me too. I like him. He's a really good guy.
Yep. Jesse is asking, you were talking about how the Flyers should score more, but exactly how do the Flyers create more rebounds and second chances?
Okay, going to the net is one thing. Getting their shots on net is another thing. The more shots you get on net, the more rebound chances you get. We've talked about it in this episode, as a matter of fact. So the timing's good. Just you go to the net and good things happen. That's really it. And when you make passes, don't always pass on the perimeter. Pass to a guy who's cutting to the net. And if they need to talk about it on the bench, then say, okay, let's make sure, like on this shift, like if I'm in charge, let's say it's my line, I'm going to be like, let's make sure we get at least 1 or 2 net front opportunities. And if it's you, player A, that's going to pass to me, I'll cut to the net. Or or otherwise, but let's look for those plays. I don't think they look for those plays enough. They did a few tonight, but not enough.
Yeah, and I think the other thing, in addition to that, for sure, is like shot selection, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's just natural. If you go for the blocker, you go for the pads, you're going to get a rebound, and then
Yes.
you do what you suggested and have somebody else driving to the net.
Yeah.
That's how these second chances get created, and they just aren't finding a way to have the shot accuracy rate in
No.
order to do that.
It's true.
All right, that will do it for today's show. Thanks so much for listening. Tomorrow on the show, we're going to talk Tampa and a prospect profile. As a reminder, we always want to hear from you. If you want your question answered on the show like we just did, you can let us know on any of our socials at Locked On Flyers. You can email us at lockedonflyers@gmail.com or comment on our YouTube channel. I'm Rachel. I'm on Twitter and Blue Sky at rmiriam. That's RMIRIAM.
I'm Russ. I'm at Sportsology. I'm most of my socials, and it's SPORTSOLLGY.
Thanks for making Locked On Flyers your first listen today. For your next listen, find Locked On Fantasy Hockey. Become a fantasy hockey expert and get the edge over your league mates with daily tips from Steal and Flip. Find Locked On Fantasy Hockey on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Have a great day, everyone.